Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hesed Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We're virtual only, based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the thought behind the thought, the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence. We do a little piece of Revelation each week. This is going to be a lot of Revelation 9 and 12 and a little bit of 20 too. So it's going to be about the big showdown, about this Apollo guy, this Abaddon guy from Revelation 9, and other players that seem to be released from prison as we head into the end of days. There's these attacks that come, but it's basically like an OK corral of the end times where God has to defeat these beings, whatever they are. And so, first of all, we're going to get something out of the way here. The Nephilim question, in terms of Genesis 6, did angels, fallen angels, say mate with human women? Yes, I believe that to be the case. And so that causes problems in most churches and Bible studies. And then Flavius Josephus wrote about this in 79 AD during the time of Joshua, the 13th century BCE. He further wrote that they had huge bodies and their faces were so unlike ordinary humans that it was amazing to look at them, and it was scary to listen to their loud voice, which was like a lion roar. Interesting, okay? So the main thing is we are not going to be discussing demons, which I believe, I'll explain that in the next slide, but basically we try not to twist the Bible. We try to give you real prophecy and the fake news, the philosophy of the end of days, and Heiser's comment is demons are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. 1, the angels weren't supposed to fall. 2, here, I'll just give you the angels' rules that they were supposed to do, which is watch humanity, report to God, only unveil a message to humans when requested, don't have sex with women, don't teach humans certain technology, like Elon Musk seems to be getting technology from other people. So don't do those things. As a result of the angels falling, some of them, not all, they mated with human beings and they produced the spirits of the Nephilims. And so the demons became that when they died. Okay. So the bottom line is that doesn't work going forward. You're going to be dealing with real problems like watchers, fallen angels, Satan, things like that. And so the main thing is demons are important. We seem to be dealing with demons now, but you won't as much going forward. You're going to be dealing with the bad ones, okay, the big bad ones. So that's Heiser. I agree with him. And in some ways, I agree with Tom Horn, too. This is a video from a while back. Basically, the Book of Enoch egregores are independent beings. In older literature, egregores often referred to those Enochian entities and were sometimes described as the most illustrious of fallen angels. So what I'm going to try to do through this talk is divide the fallen angels into two groups, egregores and fallen angels. And I'm going to kind of give you reasons for why. The Satan would be more like an egregore. Certain fallen angels go into the egregore category and certain ones don't. I'll explain why. Demons don't fit at all. They're not part of the plan. They're not part of the battle. At present, we're battling only against demons. No fallen angels yet that we know of, but we're starting to see signs of the orbs and things like that up in the skies. So I agree with Dr. Heiser in most cases. I like what Horn presented, why his thoughts are consistent with first century rabbinic writings, and I share those thoughts. Fallen angels are more powerful than demons, and they derive from different sources. Fallen angels are created alongside faithful angels, and some, not all, are in chains in the abyss, and some are imprisoned in heaven. I'll show you the verses. Sorry, it's Enoch. Demons are the disembodied spirits of the dead Nephilim, which were never supposed to have been born. Demons are bothersome but pathetic. Fallen angels have significant power and access to technology and teaching technology. Both types have the ability to manifest and manipulate plasmas to frighten humans. Egregores seem to be the fallen angel captains, we'll call them. Watchers are something different. So this is from Mike Heiser and his divine rebellions and things like that. Now, he'll list the 3 divine rebellions. I list the 3 unveilings or the prison breaks, where God releases these prisoners from their various prisons. And I'll try to show you those things. Genesis 3 is a Mike Heiser fall. The Nakash, that serpent-like creature, foments a rebellion by Adam and Eve. That's a proxy thing. He wants Adam and Eve to do his proxy work for him, okay? Genesis 6, the fallen angels mate with humans to rebel via Nephilim. Okay, that is proxy number 2, where they want to use humans as a food source and as a work source and things like that, and it just all falls apart, and God causes the flood. Genesis 10, Nimrod seems to be part of that unveiling too. So all of these are unveilings. Then you've got the rebellion against God for unifying mankind. That's the third one of those proxy, and whatever it happens to be. We'll call it a divine rebellion. And God judges all three in significant ways. As we move forward, I'm going to be showing you cases where Revelation 9 and 12 seem to be three situations where God unchains the 200 or the 20, whatever, the egregore that seem to be in the abyss, and the watchers that seem to be in a heavenly prison. He unchains these beings. He releases them from prison, kicks out Satan for a season in Revelation 12 to test the earth. So all of these are part of you being witnesses of these activities, these big three going forward. We were not part of Genesis 3 or 6 or 10, but we're part of Revelation 9 and 12. So be a good witness. Okay, that means you should study the Bible so you know what you're witnessing. Revelation 20 seems to be another one, but I'm going to indicate that that's generally after the 1,000 years, so the millennium. So yes, Gog will rebel one more time, but I would say we may not I can't imagine any of us would witness that other than from a heavenly realm. Revelation 9 will be your first time to witness this rebellion. So Heiser calls them divine transgressions. They want their own people to be their proxies. So basically it's a proxy situation where, the fallen angels were looking for proxies. And then point number 2 is that they teach humans certain things, technology, things like that. So those things are coming, but really they won't have enough time to get a lot of things done when you're talking about fallen angels moving forward and any other things that come up from the abyss or from, this distant heaven of some sort. Okay, so we'll cover it one last time, and then we'll move on from this. When you look at Ephesians 6:12, you do not see anything about demons. Many things don't make the list. Well, aliens don't make it. Nephilim don't make it. Egregore are not on that, so they would be the top of the top fallen angels. But you do see things like cosmic dignitaries and Archos and Exousias and Cosmocaterus Scotius and Pneumatica Ponerus Epinurus. Well, those types of things may be these fallen angels that we are going to be fighting against. So just keep that in mind. These things are listed out because evil will be released for the big showdown in Revelation 20. That's a Mike Heiser type of a quote, but it is accurate with what we're seeing going forward. Okay, so let's go through some history. We'll give you a midrash that's rabbinic, but it's pretty accurate, and it's a good concept for you to get an idea of what's going on in Enoch and a little bit behind the scenes in 1st and 2nd Peter and in Jude. So let's do some of this. The fall of the angels, the depravity of mankind, which began in the time of Enosh, had increased monstrously in the time of his grandson Yared, which means descend, by reason of the fallen angels. When the angels saw the beautiful, attractive daughters of men, they lusted after them and spoke, "We will choose wives for ourselves only from among the daughters of men, and beget children with them." Their chief Shemhazai said, I fear me, yes, ye will not put this plan of yours into execution, and I alone will have to suffer the consequences of a great sin. Then they answered him and said, "We will swear an oath, and we will bind ourselves separately and together, not to abandon the plan, but to carry it out to the end, through to the end." 200 angels descended to the summit of Mount Hermon, which owes its name to this very occurrence because they bound themselves there to fulfill their purpose. On the penalty of Haram, anathema, under the leadership of 20 captains, so this is Enoch, this is a paraphrase of Enoch, but there seems to be the 20 captains of the 200. I'm claiming they're called egregores. They're the most dignified of the angels, and they're the captains. But they could also be part of the 200 also. They defiled themselves with the daughters of men, unto whom they taught charms, conjuring formulas, how to cut roots, and the efficacy of plants. The issue from these mixed marriages was the race of giants, the Nephilim, 3,000 eels tall, whatever that means, who consumed the possessions of men. When all had vanished, they could obtain nothing more from them. The giants turned against men and devoured. So that proxy comet happens when they could get no more proxy effort out of mankind. The giants turned and devoured many of mankind, and the remnant of men began to trespass against the birds, beasts, reptiles, and fishes, eating their flesh and drinking their blood. It became corrupt. And then you have the Noah's Ark situation. So the egregores knew the women, and they seem to be imprisoned in Tartarus, which is from 2 Peter. Okay, or 1 Peter it might be. No, I think it's 2 Peter 2. Yeah. So 1 Enoch 10, the watchers are divided into two groups. Now, this is my opinion on this, but we'll see if you like it. There are 20 and 200 leaders, the egregores, and I can't determine yet if it's just the 20 or part of the 200, who instigated the rebellion and descended to earth to sleep with human women. And the remaining watchers who did not participate in the transgression. So some of them are secondary, but still it's a transgression overall, with the primary leader of the rebellious group usually identified as Shemihaza, or it could be Azazel, I put him in there too, who led the others in their descent to earth to take human wives, resulting in the birth of the Nephilim, the giants, the Givarim, the Gedolim. I want you to see those words because you're going to see them again in the text. These offspring called possibly the Givarim, the Gedolim. There are many terms that match up. The Anakim, all these phrases. Now, AI helped me out with that, but basically that's my own verbiage from AI. Okay, so this is from 1 Enoch. The watchers are the 20 and the 200, again, the captains, the egregores, described as being imprisoned underground, plus the remaining watchers remain imprisoned in a heavenly limbo for about 70 generations. That seems to be about now. The egregores disobeyed God by sexual sins and teaching forbidden knowledge. Right, okay. So now we'll read 2 Peter 2:5. For if God's messengers, angels, who sinned did not spare, but with chains of thick gloom, having cast them down to Tartarus, did deliver them to judgment, having been reserved for basically the end of time, which is now. Okay, and then Jude 1 talks about it this way: messengers, angelos, also those who did not keep their own principality, but did leave their proper dwelling to a judgment of a great day, in bonds everlasting under darkness he has kept. That's Jude 1. So it's I think that's verse 6. Anyway, the main thing is you can see this consistently throughout if you are reading Jude and 2 Peter and 1 Peter and things like that. Okay, so you've got these things that are going to be coming from their various prisons as God releases them, because it's time for the epic showdown. Okay, so harm only the people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So for you need the seal of God. Whatever it happens to be, you have to have it by just before the midpoint of the Great Tribulation, according to my timeline. So you need to know your spiritual enemies. Demons are going to be the lowest level. There will be fallen angels, there will be egregores, there will be these beings coming from different directions, some from underneath the earth, some coming from basically Babylon, some coming from the heavens. Who and what and where? You're going to have to start to work on this and pray, and God will show you what you're fighting against. So know your spiritual enemies. Fallen angel and demonic entities will matter because we will experience multiple unveilings, these prison breaks, during the final 7 years. And these are godly prison breaks. He wants the fight. He wants the big OK Corral fight. Revelation 9 describes one angel opening the abyss, and that's probably a good angel based on how Revelation 21 describes that. So the abyss, while other chained egregores are released, one king angel is Abaddon, the destroyer, Apollyon, plus 200 million Nephilim that pop out in Revelation 9. Okay, so there's two different segments of the fifth trumpet and the sixth trumpet, and they're divided. Then Revelation 12 describes the Satan and his horde of fallen angels, called the Watchers, being kicked out of heaven, and he will rage and they'll be angry. Okay, so you've got different people coming from different directions. Therefore, we should expect egregores ascending from the abyss, Nephilim from the Babylon area. That's what it sounds like in the text. Fallen angels descending from the heavens. Some sort of it's not the first heaven. It's not where God is, but it seems to be some heavenly abode. There will be demonic attacks too, but they will be the least significant. It would be wise to preach being sealed in the Spirit and truth when these events unfold. Okay, so once again, we're hitting on the same points a few times just so you can see it. 20 egregores, 20 that are divided between 200 divided between egregores and or fallen angels. They could also be called in the Hebrew the Zava or God Zava, which would be God has his host that work for him, but some have fallen, and so they're still Zava, but they obviously work for the other team. Revelation 9, the fifth trumpet, egregores. Revelation 6, or 9 rather, the sixth trumpet seems to be the Nephilim. Other fallen angels, maybe. Revelation 12, fallen angels and watchers. Revelation 12, the Satan. And so they will have names. They will have faces. Some of the faces will be like lions and things like that, but they'll be named and they'll look human in some ways. Some ways. Okay, so now let's go to 1 Enoch 18, 11 through 16 and give you my description. I agree with the way this is stated, so let's see if you agree. And I saw a deep abyss, abuso, prison number 1 for the egregores. Uriel happens to be one of the holy angels who is over the world and over Tartarus. That's what I'm describing this deep abyss as being, Tartarus, from 2 Peter 2, 4. 5. With columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it, and there was no water upon it, no birds, and there was no waste, but it was a waste, rather, and a horrible place. I saw there 7 stars, like the great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This is a place of the end of heaven and the earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven." So I'm arguing there's a first prison, which is Tartarus, the deep abyss. The second prison seems to be the prison for the stars and the host of heaven. So heavenly prison number 2 for fallen angels and the Satan. And so I'm arguing that Satan can't get to the first heaven, but there's another prison location in heaven that's keeping the Satan and the fallen angel and these other fallen angels. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. They were doing what they weren't supposed to be doing, and so God has always had these appointed times, these festivals, and they didn't show up. And he was wroth with them and bound them till the end of time, which is about 70 generations, when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. Okay, so that's 1 Enoch 18, 11 through 16. Continuing on, so now we're moving on to this first prison emptied. Okay, and this is God doing this, because I'm arguing that this angel, the star fallen Uriel, I'm arguing, is a good angel, because he's found in Revelation 20, verse 1. So this unveiling is the 5th angel sounded his shofar. That sounds like Joel 2. And I saw a star, I'm arguing Uriel, that had fallen out of heaven unto the earth, and he was given the key to the shaft leading down to the abuso. He opened the shaft of the abuso, and there went up smoke from the shaft like the smoke of a huge furnace. The sun was darkened, and the sky too, and the smoke from the shaft. Then out of the smoke unto the earth came locusts. I'm arguing that's the 20 or the 200 egregores that are chained underneath in the abuso, in the Tartarus, okay? And they were given power, like the power scorpions have on the earth. They were instructed not to harm the grass of the sea or any green plant or any tree, but only the people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. That's Ezekiel 9:4. So obviously, you don't have to be involved in this if you just have the seal of God, which is spirit and truth. The locusts, that sounds like Exodus 10, were not allowed to kill them, only to inflict pain on them for 5 months. Now, in Ezekiel 9:4, they're killed, okay? But in this case, it's a little bit different. They're tortured, but they don't die, and they'll seek death, but they can't find it, okay? For 5 months, it's 150 days, and the pain they caused was like the pain of a scorpion sting. In those days, people will seek death, like suicide, but they will not find it. They won't long to die, but death will elude them. That's Revelation 9, 1 through 6. So that's that first prison emptied. So the king over these egregores, so they'll have one king, Melech king, the Malach, the angel of the Tehom, the abyss. It's not the Satan, because Satan is named in Revelation 12, so it can't be the Satan. It could be Shemi Hatza, or Azazel, but and it could be maybe some other names, but basically it isn't the Satan. Okay, he shows up later on, and the Satan is not underneath the ground. He's in a heavenly realm, but not a good heavenly realm. He's in a prison up there. The name for him is Ivrit, or rather, in the Hebrew, is Abaddon, that is destruction, and in the Hellenist, his name is Apollyon, that is destroyer. So that sounds like a few other things, like Job 26:6 and 28:22 and 31:12, and then the Psalms 88:11. But that's from Revelation 9:11. So they're named, and I'm arguing that the people of the world today are conjuring to unveil, to release these prisoners from their prisons, these egregores, these Apollos, or Dionysus, or whatever they happen to be. They will have names, and they'll have faces too. And so I'm giving you some examples here on this page. Okay, so this is coming from Tom Horn in a video called "The Pagan Entities Ruling Over America," Zeitgeist 2025, and he's linking Apollo with Nimrod, and he's saying that there are these proxies out there. Well, what the demons, not the demons, but the fallen angels want proxies. So it's pretty consistent with the thought. So with no preconceptions, you allow the symbolism on the seal to speak for itself, from which you quickly determine that this had been a great culture who worshipped Egyptian and Greek deities, especially a particular solar one whose all-seeing eye glared from atop an unfinished Egyptian pyramid. Okay, so that's the American dollar. Interesting. And then upon further investigation into the specific beliefs of the strange group whose members had influenced the Great Seal, you discover from their highest masters, including one illustrious Albert Pike, and Pike then is pictured here a couple of times in this scene. And so Pike would say that the sun god they venerated so highly had been known to them at various times in history by the names of Apollo, Osiris, and Nimrod. So I wanted you to see in Revelation 9 this term Apollyon. Okay, very interesting. And Osiris seems to be, more Egyptian, and then Nimrod is Babylon. So that spirit, that whatever it happens to be that controlled that particular time and place, seems to be a similar spirit. And this horrible monster, Albert Pike, who is a Freemason, seems to be describing it. Okay, so so he would argue, Albert Pike, a 33-degree Mason, would say yes, Lucifer is God. He is not, but they're Luciferian in their doctrine. So basically, it's just interesting to notice this, and then continuing on with a little bit more. This is from the same video, and so he's citing the Cumae's Sibyl, and so not the last age. By the Cumae's Sibyl, sung, "He has come and gone, and the majestic roll of circling centuries begins anew." I'm sorry I can't read that, but something returns. It's underneath my timer. Returns old Saturn's reign with a new breed of men sent down from heaven. Only do thou at the boy's birth, in whom the iron shall cease, the golden race arise. Befriend him, chase the China. 'Tis thine own Apollo reigns. So he's citing that Apollo will reign again. Interesting, because that's what Revelation 9 is talking about. He shall receive the life of gods and see heroes with gods commingling, and himself be seen of them, and with his father's worth reign o'er a world. Assume thy greatness, for the time draws nigh, dear child of gods, great progeny of Jove, Jupiter, Zeus. See how it totters, the world's orbed not might, earth, the wide ocean, and the vault profound, all see enraptured at the coming time. So they're looking forward to this OK Corral fight too. They know it's going to happen at some point in time. So I want you to link that between Apollo from Revelation 9:11. They had the king over the angel of the abyss, and his name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, and in our language, Apollyon, destroyer. So it's just one more link that these creatures that are coming back and are going to be released in various waves are going to be coming back with names and phases and things like that. Okay, so let's find a little bit more of Apollo listed in the Bible. 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except that there shall be a great falling away first, and that a man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, Apollo. Emphasis is added, obviously. Very interesting. Revelation 17:8, 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and shall go to perdition. That's Apollo. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Emphasis added with Apollo and Apollo. Very, very interesting. So it ties into Apollo, Nimrod, the Givarim, the giants. They're named, they'll have faces, things like that, and we're due for some fights. I want to give you a little bit of a Nimrod background. He seems to be involved in the end times. That Apollo name seems to be like Nimrod. Okay, so Cush fathered Nimrod, who was the first powerful ruler on earth. He was a mighty hunter before Adonai, literally in the face of God. This is why people say, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter in the face of God. His kingdom began at Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. Ashur went out from that land and built Nineveh, the city Rehovot, Kelach, Rezin, and between Nineveh and Kalach, and that one is the great city. So Genesis 10, 8 through 12. So we see Babylon, and Babylon kind of pops up in the next section of Revelation 9, say 16 through 20. You see that location there, that area where these 200 million or whatever, many warriors pop up, and they seem to be Nephilim based. So let's just show you a little bit more of how this is from Genesis 10. I want you to see the word Givor constantly with Nimrod. So Nimrod begat Nimrod, and he began to be a mighty one, a Givor on the earth. And he was mighty. Givor again. So you can see Givor, describing Nimrod. Is he a Givorim? Possibly. Is he a Nephilim? I don't know. Is he Apollo? I don't know. Is he a fallen angel? Possibly. But this is how the Bible describes Nimrod, an adversary and a powerful man, the first of the powerful men of that time frame. And then God does disperse things after that. So I want to show you a little bit too about that final judgment that's coming, which is Isaiah 13 through to 4. This is that OK Corral type of a situation. Wave your hand that they may enter the gates of the nobles. Let's see. And I have commanded that my sanctified ones, also the mighty ones, the Givari. Okay. So basically, this is Isaiah 13. And so it seems as though God is going to be calling these mighty ones to show up at the end of days. Let's read the Greek on the right-hand side. Call for aid with this hand. Open, O rulers, I order, and I have lead them, the giants, come to fulfill my rage. Yeah, that's off in the Hebrew. Rage. So when we come up to this time of rage, it seems like the giants are associated with that end times. Isaiah 13 is all about the end times. And so it seems like God is warning us that he will use the gigantus in the Greek, or the Givori in the, it's Givorei. Yeah, it's Ray. I'm sorry. Givorei in the Hebrew, to be part of the judgment, of those end times from Isaiah 13 through 4. Very interesting. So open up the gates, ye rulers. Giants will come during the end times. Isaiah 13. Okay, number 2 unveiling. And this is Revelation 9, 13 through 18. I'm arguing that this is going to be a prison break, but God sanctions it again. And this is coming from Babylon. That's why I wanted to show you all the Babylon and Nimrod stuff. Okay, so let's go through that unveiling. And the 6th messenger did sound, and I heard a voice out of the 4 horns of the altar of gold that is before God, saying to the 6th messenger who had the trumpet, loose the 4 messengers who are bound at the great river Euphrates. That's east towards Babylon. And loosed were the 4 messengers who have been made ready for the hour, the day, and the month, and the year, that they may kill 1/3 of men. And the number of the forces of the horsemen is 2 myriads of myriads. That's 200 million. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and those sitting upon them having breastplates of fire, and jacinth, and brimstone. So that's that. I should have done brimstone as the very odd yellowish color, see-through yellow. And the heads of the horses are as heads of lion. Do you see the lion on the horses? Things like that. It's that Heiser called it this. Theromorphic. Okay, so that's where you combine humans and animals to give you the scene of what's going on. Okay, so theromorphic. Okay, hybrid animals and humans. Okay, so you've got the heads of horses are as heads of lions, and then out of their mouths proceed fire and smoke. I'm arguing they're probably Nephilim because they also have that brimstone. And the three were of the third of the men killed from the fire and from the smoke and from the brimstone that is proceeding out of their mouth. Revelation 9:13 through 18. So that's prison number one. Number two. I'm sorry, I should have put number two is emptied. So that's another prison. So there's a prison that seems to be the abuso, the Tehom, that underneath area of some place where that first batch are released. This is number two, comes out of Babylon basically and releases those people. And then number three seems to be Revelation 12. So I'm arguing this is the third unveiling, and this is the other prison area, prison number three in this case. Okay, and a great sign, asteroid Apophis, and this would be a heavenly prison. Okay, so asteroid Apophis could be that great sign. It's setting up, and I'll show you that at the end. We'll see what you think. Was seen in heaven a woman arrayed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and being with child. And this happens every fall. She reclines, and she has, the moon underneath her feet. So that's Virgo, the constellation. And it happens during Rosh Hashanah each fall, every year. But in this case, she's going to be with child as she cries out, travailing and pained to bring forth the child. And there was seen another sign in the heaven, and lo, a great dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his head 7 diadems, and his tail draweth the third of the stars of the heaven. That's the other fallen angels. He did cast them to the earth. And the dragon did stand before the woman who was about to bring forth. And when she may bring forth, her child he may devour. And she brought forth a man child, and who is about to rule all the nations with a rod of iron, and caught away was her child unto God and his throne. It's kind of like a rapture scene. And the woman did flee to the wilderness, where she hath a place made ready from God, and there they may nourish her a days 1,260, so 1,260 days. And there came war in the heaven. Michael and his messengers did war against the dragon. And the dragon did war and his messengers, and they did not prevail, nor was their place found any more in the heavens. So now you can see this is a different prison. And I'm sorry that I didn't label it properly, but it's prison number 3, but it's a heavenly prison. Okay, and so we see different people, different beings coming from different places. Well, the first one is the Tehom, the abyss. The second one seems to be Babylon, that area. The third one seems to be a heavenly prison of some sort, where the devil and these other fallen angels seem to be imprisoned. And so basically, he's going to put up a big fight against God. This OK Corral type of a fight. So one more list, just so you can see the megalus, you can see the words that are used here. So this is from Revelation. Oh goodness, Revelation 11:18 through 19, and you can see that these basically at that section you're going to see the word megalus used to describe the judgment. So let me read the right hand side, and then show you the specifics after that. Okay. And the nations were angry, thine anger did come, and the time of the dead to be judged. So this is the showdown, to give the reward to thy servants, to the prophets, and to the saints, and to those fearing thy name, to the small and to the great. That's megalus, that's Gedalim, that's Nephilim possibly, the fallen angels possibly, and to destroy those who are destroying the land. And opened was the sanctuary of God in heaven, and there was seen the ark of his covenant in the sanctuary. And there did come lightnings and voices and thunders and an earthquake and great hail. Revelation 11:18 through 19. So now let's break it down so you can see the word in the Greek. Basically, the small and the megalus. Okay, the great. So you can see that word describing the Gedalim in the Hebrew. So the midsection there, that's Hebrew. And you can see it. I underlined it in blue and a darker blue. That's va, which would be and la, which would be to, the Gedalim underneath the blue or above the blue. Okay, And in Deuteronomy 128, just to go back to what I showed you before, where do we ascend? And our brethren cause to abstain our heart, and saying, a nation, it is great and populous and mightier than we, that's mega, and cities great, megalai, and are walled unto the heaven. Okay, in the Hebrew, it's literally in the heavens. Moreover, so there were the sons of giants we saw there. So that's the megalos type word. I'm sorry I didn't highlight it better, but basically, the giants. I'm sorry, I didn't say megalos. They are the giganticus. They're giants. They're they're either megalos or gedalim or something like that, but they're giants. Gigantic, giganton. Okay, so there you go. So basically, I'm getting to the fact that these mighty ones are also giants. Okay, so the Gedalim could be Anakim, could be Nephilim, they could be, so this is Deuteronomy 128 through 29, where you can see it in the Hebrew. They're Gadol, they're taller, Varam, and then they're Gadol again, great and fortified, up to the heaven, Ba Shemaim. So that means literally in the heavens. Okay, so this is Deuteronomy 128 through 29, and they're Anak down on the lower right-hand side, the Anakim. So obviously they're giants and they're huge, and that's a consistent thought throughout the Bible. Continuing on, now we're getting to the point where it's going to be the big showdown of Revelation 20, according to Michael Heiser. So, and it shall come to pass in that day, Bayom Hahu, which is a famous phrase for the end of days, that I will punish, and it's like an accounting punishment, God, Yud-He-Vav-He, on the Zava of the exalted ones, the Hamarom, Bamarom. Those are locations. I posit that they are locations in the skies, possibly in the heavens, but definitely not where God would reside. It would be in a prison, possibly in heaven. Okay, and the kings, Ha-Adama, and Ha-Adama on the earth, Al-Ha-Adama. And so basically, there will be kings on the earth, but also these Zava, these fallen angels that will be punished. Okay, and so they're above our heads, and they're popping out. You can see the orbs every now and then. So what I want to show you is that there's this big showdown in the end, based on Revelation 11 and Isaiah 24 and the other sections too. We know there's the big showdown. Just is. It's no cake corral. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Well, God is good. The bad is going to be the Satan. The ugly are going to be these other beings, the egregores and things like that. But there will be a final showdown, and we're coming up to it. Okay, so what is going on in the world? Well, obviously people are trying to conjure up these beings to head out and attack us. The assassin, the fallen angel from the Olympics, and the crazy people in the middle there. Once again, you've got Aleister Crowley and Albert Pike and conjuring, and the Apollo type, this cult of Apollo, and also the beheaded lady, Marie Antoinette. What I'm telling you is that they're telegraphing last year on her anniversary of her beheading. That was Cheshvan 10. You had Biden ask Ukraine to start sending in long-range missiles, and Putin almost kicked it off. He sent out his long-range missiles, but we didn't have World War III because I think God prevented it. But then we've also got this Azazel creature, and that is a Yom Kippur figurine, and that's Cheshvan 10 too. So I just want to show you something interesting. We'll just look at it and see what you think. And so basically, October of 2025 is very interesting because that will be leading into that Cheshvan 10 timeframe, which is pointed out by the Olympics of last year. And the globalists seem to be pointing to that day because that is okay, just let's do the math and show you what happens. So 10/31 of 2025, go forward 1,260 days, and what do you come to? 4/13 of 2029. That's intriguing. That's exactly when the big asteroid Apophis will buzz Earth on Friday, April 13th of 2029. Interesting. Okay. So then let's go forward another 1,260 days and let's see where we get to. Well, first, here's more about Apophis. Okay. And it's very interesting. So it's a planet killer. It's not going to hit us, but it's going to frighten us. It's a sign. It sounds like that Revelation 9 sign. It just kind of does, people. So anyway, then let's go forward the next 1,260 days. and from Apophis, which is going to be that time frame of 2029. Okay, the 13th. There's Apophis. Whoop! I put the wrong day on there. Sorry, Apophis would be the 13th. But anyway, moving forward from that, 1260 days would take you to 9/24 of 2032, which would be very intriguing. That is the Feast of Sukkot and the ending of it, which is John 7:37. Shemini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, and that time frame falls on Sunday, September 26th. So it seems like the 24th is right up until that time. It's just interesting to notice it. I don't know if the globalists are predicting it or not, or in the birth banks. Doesn't matter. We know things are going to be greater in 2025. We know that the tribulation will be coming after the birth pangs are done, and then we'll go into great tribulation at a later time. We know that the king angel of the abyss will be popping out. We will have these time frames when you will have fallen angels, you'll have the egregores, you'll have other activities, and so these unveiling, these prison breaks are going to occur, and God wants the big showdown to occur. So basically, yeah, it looks like I've covered everything then, and so I want you to be blessed because a wedding is coming up soon, and it's going to be between us and Yeshua. It's going to be on, I assume, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur or Sukkot of a future year. I just showed you an interesting date from 2032. And we wouldn't know the day or the hour because obviously it's in that range, okay? But we're Beth Hess. Thank you very much for your time and be blessed. And thank you for a long show this time. Take care. God